Hi, this is Chip coming to you from El Pescadero in Baja California Sur on the MEA campus, which is about as empty as the beaches here, which are about as empty as the world's hotels, Airbnbs, and restaurants, sadly. I'm going to come to you from the Elder Garden at the Modern Elder Academy, and that's quite appropriate because it was Paul Hawken who taught me in 1987 when I started my business at age 26. That the garden is an appropriate metaphor for understanding any business. And fortunately, Paul was a Mastery Week teacher here this winter, and he'll be coming back in the fall. So what can I tell you based upon my own 4 experiences of downturns, none of which have been as serious as this one. At age 26, I started my company, and 2 years later, we had the San Francisco earthquake, which basically dried up business for 6 months. 2 years later, we had a very deep recession in the United States. 91, 92, 93 made it difficult for us to grow. And then we had the dot-com bust, SARS, and 9/11 all around the same time. And yet our company tripled in size and revenues over a 5-year period during that time. And then finally the Great Recession, which was just pummeling to so many people. And we were launching 15 hotels over a 21-month period, with the last one opening with its grand opening party the day that Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. So I've been through some downturns. A lot of you, especially younger entrepreneurs, have not. We've had basically 10 years of growth in the economy worldwide. So I'm going to offer you five lessons I've learned along the way. Hopefully they'll be helpful. I'm hoping they're going to be helpful to me as well, because I'm still in a leadership position, especially here at MEA, but also with a bunch of other businesses that I still own. So the first lesson I would say is leaders are the emotional thermostats of those they lead. That means you set the climate. You have the climate control. You actually can help to stem anxiety or to actually foster it. Anxiety is often a combination of uncertainty and powerlessness. So radical transparency is particularly important during this time because it actually reduces the sense of uncertainty. Additionally, what's so important is people need to understand how they can have an impact in the business. Often leaders go into a bunker and they don't really tell their employees how they can actually make a difference. And so radical transparency, helping people to understand what they can do to make a difference. For me, I was a vulnerable visionary. That may not be your style. That meant that I was willing to be open and transparent about the emotions I was going through, but also confident enough and visionary enough to sort of point to the North Star in the future. One skill you could learn in the next month is, what if you actually asked all of your managers and leaders to no longer be called a manager or a leader for the next 30 days, but in fact, whenever that word is to be used, you actually call them role models. And maybe even in the whole company, everybody says, no one's going to use the word manager or leader for the next 30 days. Everybody who's a manager or leader is just a role model, and you use that phrase, role model, whenever you need to use the word manager or leader. The second lesson is sometimes it's going to be culture versus cash flow. And I hate to say that because I'm a total culture junkie. I believe that culture is the most important strategic differentiator for any company. But I got to tell you, when it's this bad, you actually have to be careful about cash flow as well. The good news is I actually don't think they're mutually exclusive. I actually think creating a scrappy entrepreneurial company where everybody feels like they have a voice, and when people have to leave the company because you just don't have the economic wherewithal to actually keep people, you do so with respect, which basically means they get some kind of money to provide them a little bit of security, and most importantly, they feel appreciated and respected in the process. Because frankly, the people who are left behind can see what it's like to actually leave the company because they stay in touch with the people who are leaving. So just know that culture is important, but culture can actually morph a little bit during a time like this, because cash flow, frankly, is at the base of Maslow's pyramid, which brings me to my third lesson, which I wrote about quite a bit in my book, Peak, How Great Companies Get Their Mojo from Maslow. But this is a good time to dust off that book or to read it for the first time, because it basically takes Maslow's hierarchy of needs, applies it to employees, customers, and investors, and basically says there's 3 paradigms in life and in business. And you're either in the survival mode, in the success mode, or in the transformation mode. Most companies in this time immediately go to survival. Good for them, you need to. But if you stay there, it becomes a really treacherous place to work, and frankly, a treacherous place to lead or role model. And so what I would highly recommend is you look at How do you help people secure the base of their pyramid, their survival needs, and then start moving them up the pyramid? Because frankly, it's up the pyramid when you get to transformation at the third level of that pyramid that you actually start to see major differentiation and loyalty. The fourth lesson comes from the idea that what people need more than anything, and it was actually very well documented in a book called The Progress Principle by two Harvard Business School professors, is they need the sense that they're making progress. They need to feel the sense of the momentum of victory, is what I call it. They need to see small victories that helps them to understand that this is not just a never-ending dire situation, but you have some level of impact and control over your circumstances. So the more you can actually look for small victories and communicate them, not with Pollyanna, optimism, but with a point to just say, we are making progress. And that leads me to the fifth lesson I've learned, which is failure is an option, and don't take it personally. It doesn't mean that you should actually seek failure out. It just means in a time like this, there will be failures. No one's going to actually think badly upon you because your business failed during this time. What they will really appreciate and what you will look at 20 years from now with your leadership team is how did we go through that difficult time? You're probably going to become a better leader in the next couple of years because of the circumstances. But if circumstances are such that you actually are, your business is going to fail, that doesn't make you a failure. It just means that circumstances were beyond your control. And it just means that you're probably a smarter entrepreneur in the future. So those are my thoughts. It's a tough time. I hope you're not just being physically well and healthy, but emotionally well and healthy, because you are a role model. You are the contagious emotions in your organization. People look to you for guidance right now. So I wish you the best from a garden here in Baja California Sur. I hope that all of this and this pandemic ends quickly, but most importantly, I hope you actually are able to see it as an opportunity for growth.